should I put solar panels on my house? The truth is, it's a complex decision. And that's where it comes in real handy to have a trusted and reputable solar company that you're dealing with. Because I'm sure that you've seen the news articles and news reports where disingenuous solar companies really screwed over the homeowners that they were dealing with. But the truth is, the vast majority of homeowners could greatly benefit if they went solar, but there are some factors that can determine if you're a good fit for solar or not. The tax credits are a perfect example of this. So right now, the federal government is offering a 30% tax credit if you choose to go solar. Now, that 30% tax credit isn't a deduction. Basically, it means that you're getting a 30% credit based on that system cost. However, it's an income-based tax credit. So if you're retired or if you've got a really low income, you may not qualify for the entire tax credit, at least in year one. Now, the federal tax credit does roll over into the future, so if you can't recoup all of it in year one, you can extend that into year 2, 3, 4, etc. But it does require a taxable income to be able to reap the rewards of those benefits. So if that's not explained to you properly, then it can be real easy to get put into a position where you buy a solar system expecting that tax credit and not get it. Again, the tax credits are huge, and even states have individual tax credits set up. Like in our home state of South Carolina, not only do you get the federal tax credit, but there's a 25% state tax credit as well that rolls forward into years to come. Other factors like you have tree coverage on your house. You know, there are a lot of homes that can't go solar simply because their houses are surrounded in trees. I mean, if you think about it, right, it makes sense. You're trying to produce energy from the sun, but if trees are throwing shade onto your house, you're not able to get the sun production that you otherwise would. Now, there are other options. You can chop those trees down if that's an option for you. And chopping those trees down, the cost associated with that also gets lumped into those tax credits I mentioned earlier. You know, the orientation of your home is a big factor. So when it comes to putting a solar system on the house, you know, a lot of people think of the sun as rising directly over the house and setting directly on the other side. That's not really the way the sun rises and sets. The sun is tilted in a slightly southern direction, so the southern facing slopes of your home are always going to be the most beneficial to put solar panels on. A northern facing slope, on the other hand, you're not going to get a lot of sun production from that. So we want to make sure that we put those panels on an east, west, or southern facing slope, where the southern facing slope is the prime real estate for solar panels. You know, are you selling your house within a couple of years? What happens if I do sell my house? So quickly, the prospect of selling your home after you put solar panels on it, it's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination. You're still going to recoup your tax credits that we mentioned earlier. And then beyond that, when you go to sell your house, if you've still got those solar panels financed, if you didn't pay cash, then that loan can be assumed by the new homeowner, or because of the increased value in your home that you get from going solar, you can use the additional proceeds from the sale of the home to pay off the solar loan, and then you're free and clear, good to go. And the new home buyer is going to realize that they don't have a power bill essentially because the homeowner previous to them decided that they wanted to go solar. But above all of that, one of the most important factors to determine if you should go solar or not is your utility company, who you buy your power from. And the reason that this is so important is because they have different net metering and net rider programs based on which utility you have. So the way utility companies generally work is they've got their service fees and things like that, but then they charge you a fixed rate per kilowatt hour of electricity you consume. And a kilowatt hour is just a unit of measure they use to determine how much electricity you pulled from them. So with a net metering program, for every kilowatt hour you consume from them, they pay you based on the kilowatt hours that you send back to the grid. And all this is made possible because when you go solar, you install what's called a bi-directional meter, and your solar company and utility companies handle that part of the process for you. But essentially, for example, our largest utility provider here in the upstate of South Carolina, they have a direct one-to-one net metering program. So what that means is for every 10 cents, every kilowatt hour you use from them, they may charge you 10 cents. But for every surplus energy that you send them from your solar powered system, every kilowatt hour that you send back to them, they pay you that same 10 cents. So it makes it really beneficial and almost a no-brainer to go solar with that utility company. You know, some of the smaller co-ops and smaller utility companies have a little different of a situation where they may charge you that 10 cents per kilowatt hour, but for every kilowatt hour you send back to them, they only provide you with 5 cents of credits to your account. So it really kind of narrows down what you can do. You know, on those smaller co-ops, you probably don't want to do 100% offset because you're paying to send them more power and you're not getting the full benefit from that. So in those situations, it's probably only beneficial to go to about a 50 or 60% offset. So that way you're not sending bukus of energy back to the utility company and not really reaping the rewards from it. You know, all these things come into play. And that's why it becomes critically important to pay attention to the company that you're working with. You know, ask for references, read their Google reviews, check them out on the Better Business Bureaus. All of these things can help make sure that you're making the right decision on whether or not you should go solar. And this page is dedicated to providing all kinds of information from a homeowner's perspective, from a contractor, to make sure that you're getting all the information you need and you can make the right choices. So if you're interested in learning more, like, subscribe, follow along, and we're going to keep the content coming.